This video will discuss Chapter 5.5, Inequalities involving absolute value. So please remember that absolute value means the distance a number is from 0. And one thing that you may want to think about writing down is less than or equal to with absolute value problems means that we're going to be doing something involving and, right? So it's going to be a compound inequality of and greater than and equal to means we are going to be using or. Okay, and so in terms of these are going to create compound inequalities, these will create an and inequality, these will create an or inequality. We can come back to that in just a moment. So let's start with m plus 2 is less than 11. And so there are two ways to think of this. And that the first one is that m plus 2 is less than 11. If you remember, we set this up as two problems. So it's this number that's inside of here can be less than 11, or the opposite of what's inside of there can be less than 11. Okay, I'm going to solve the part on the right first because this is kind of where there's a trick. Keep in mind that this is a -1, right? So remember that's a 1. So what I'm going to do is if I divide both sides by -1, this will go away, and I'm left with m plus 2. But remember now, because I divided by -1, I have to flip the sign, and so this becomes negative. All right, so now as I try to solve these two problems, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides here. Goes away, and this is m is less than 9. And then over on this side, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, and this becomes m is greater than -13. Now when I put these together, m is greater than -13, but less than 9, so this is going to be -13, m, and 9. And so as I solve it, this is my and compound inequality. So one of the tricks that you can do is this is the m plus 2 is less than 11. So I took the absolute value signs and I got rid of the absolute value and I just wrote it on the left side. That's the first way I'm solving it. The second way is I take this m plus 2, I'm going to write it on the left side, and then flip this, and that becomes my second problem. Okay, this will work every time. However, I would like for some of you to understand the magic behind that. Right? And the magic is that you're dividing by -1, which is what flips this sign and turns this number negative. We're going to do the same thing with the next type of problem. And so remember that it's just this number that's in this value that's inside is both of these, right? So that's this part and this part. And then I take this actual part and write it there, and then I'm going to flip, and I'm going to put that there. All right, let's try this with a different type of problem. So now this is going to be the second type of problem, the or. Okay, and so this is greater than or equal to. So same idea, I'm going to go 3n plus 6 is greater than or equal to 12. Okay, and then if you think about that trick, I'm going to go 3n plus 6 is less than or equal to -12. And so that's because I made this negative, right? And then it was inside the parentheses. I divide by -1, and that's what's going to flip everything around. So as I solve this, subtract 6 from both sides, and this becomes 3n greater than or equal to 6. And then divide by 3, and n is greater than or equal to 3. Okay, and then if I come over to the other side, basically going to be the same steps. Subtract 6. So this is 3n less than or equal to -18. Okay, and then again I'm going to divide by 3. And since 3 is a positive number, I am not going to flip this sign. N is less than or equal to -6. So now I have an or. So n is either greater than or equal to 3, or n is less than or equal to -6. So if you think about it, you can't find a number that makes both of these true. If it's greater than or equal to 3, you're talking about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you talk about numbers that are less than or equal to -6, you got -6, -7, -8, -9. You'll never find a number that makes both of these statements true. Right? So this one, like we said, going this way is an or. this one, if we come back to the original, which is the first problem, right, numbers that would make this statement true might be like -10, 0, 1, 5, all of those are between these two. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind is this idea, right? If it's, this is going to be an and so and problems you're going to write like that, right? And then the second part, these would be an or, and so that is going to look like this. And so before you even start the problem, you can see if the original problem has a sign facing this way, we know it's going to be an and. If it has a sign facing this way, we know that it's going to be an or. Sorry, I erased part of that with my finger. Okay, so these will always be ands and these will always be ors. And then again, we're going to work a lot in class on this trick, but this idea that 3 plus 6 is greater than or equal to 12, I'm just taking and putting it there, and then the 3n plus 6 goes here, and then I flip this sign and flip this number will work. That's kind of one of the things that we're really going to practice together. All right, that's all I got for you on solving inequalities involving absolute value. Don't forget to do the problems on the bottom of the page. Thanks for watching the video. See you in class.